In the previous video we talked about how to get a good source-self connection. And in this video we're going to talk about why the source-self connection is so important. And many of you might already know why. But do you know it well enough to take the work towards a great source-self connection really seriously as it needs to be taken? Imagine if you were on the lowest frequency. And of course you can't go there, but try to fathom what that would be like. You would have no source-self connection whatsoever. And yes, sure, a little glimpse, but nothing that would really do much for you. You would be completely lost. You would have no empowerment whatsoever. You would have no ability to recognize the truth or what would be a good choice in a given scenario. You would have no happiness and joy, only fear, and all of those unfortunate things would decrease the better of a source-self connection you have. On such a low frequency you wouldn't have any guidance, you wouldn't have any clarity, you wouldn't have any presence. And on a high frequency you would be completely present. You would know what to do, you would know how to deal with things. You would be happy, you would feel great. And it's simply because on a low frequency you have removed yourself completely from who you truly are. So the better of a source-self connection you have, the more you have removed yourself from the things that pull you down, the illusions, the unfortunate misconceptions of where you are and who you are. So now we can understand that a good source-self connection is essential. What more is there to wish for than a good source-self connection? You're plugged into this game, you as source, and it is you who are having the game experience. But with too much clutter and low frequency, chaos and misconception, you completely remove the source-self connection, the presence that has the clarity and the happiness and the strength, and the avatar would simply run loose and you wouldn't have the experience of it. You would be lost. So we want a good source-self connection. We want to play the game. We want to be here. We want to be present. And with that presence comes the clarity of how life can truly be a phenomenal experience, which it isn't when the source-self connection is really poor. Then it's filled with all of those low frequency mindsets and perceptions. So the most valuable thing you could possibly have in this game is your source-self connection. And the better of a connection, the more value it has. It's what's going to make life truly great. And the better we can understand this, the more natural it's going to be for us to work towards it. It can be something that we are aware of throughout the day. And as things pop up, shadows and misconceptions, we can be very aware that the source-self connection comes before anything else. We can very consciously choose not to give in to things that directly is decreasing the source-self connection. And if you think about it, any type of choices you might have done previously to get a better life, it could have been fasting, or a liver cleanse, or taking a walk in nature, or cleaning out your drawers or whatever it should be, it was always to get a better source self-connection. And you might not have understood it at that point, but it was to remove clutter so that you could increase your presence, your peace of mind, so you could be happier, so you could be more present, so you could be stronger. If you did a liver cleanse, it was to remove any low frequencies in the body that was pulling you out of your source self-connection. So you see that it's everything. The source self-connection should be the most important thing to work towards, because all choices you are making is essentially something that will increase it or decrease it. If you are watching the news and things that are difficult for you to fathom or handle, it could severely impact your source self-connection, your presence and joy and happiness and strength here and now. So I'm not saying that you should stop doing everything that is directly challenging your source self-connection, but don't overwhelm yourself with things that are too much for you to handle. There are many challenges in this game that is challenges that you should overcome eventually if you want to. But this might not be the time for it. It could be too much for you now. But that is up to you to recognize. And now that you know that the source self-connection is the most important thing, then it's easier for you to make a choice on the go, as you recognize how challenging certain things can be to deal with. Is it the time to deal with it now? Or is it really that important? Is there something else you should be doing instead? So we understand that the source self-connection is the most important thing. Increase it. Get a great source self-connection. I could talk about so many cool things about this matrix when it comes to real magic. But it's not something one would be able to fathom or use with a poor source self-connection. And with a great source self-connection, you become aware of all of it in its time. When it's time for it, you will become aware of it, and you will have the possibility of mastering it. It really is a phenomenal game with so much possibilities. There is so much magic in every situation. And with a good source self-connection, you will see all of it. And you will see that the game was so much more, so much better than you ever thought. Prepare yourself to understand who you really are, what you really are. Because when you are yourself in this game, you are powerful beyond what you could ever imagine. And the source self-connection is the connection to you. So how do you distinguish between the avatar and your source self? Well, to do that, you would need to be a little high frequency. You couldn't do that in your script or when you were very lost. But if you successfully have entered the silence, done the pillar spin, and started becoming aware of the neutral here and now presence that you are in the core of your being, then you can try to think about something that is upsetting, and you will see that it it is triggering in something else than your core source energy. Your core source energy can't be shaken whatsoever. It is the most neutral, strong energy that there is. And the part of you that got shaken was, of course, your avatar. It could have been your emotions, for example, your emotional body. And you can learn to distinguish and recognize that. The neutrality that is in the center of your head is your source self. It can't be shaken. It can't be polarized. It can't judge. It can't be fearful. But your avatar can. And you might need to spend a little time with it. But eventually you will see and become very aware of it. So much that it's a always very present part of you. And preferably you take it further than that. You make it the dominant. So that you're not weighed down by your subconscious or your avatar, simply because the avatar is so high frequency. You have dealt with things so that you can be truly whole and complete and aligned and neutral. But you can, of course, recognize your source self and become very familiar with it before you have gotten so far in this game. Do you understand what was being said in this video? What have you taken from it? If you now enter the silence and meditate in the way that we described in the previous video, and you get a increased experience of your source self, you might really understand what I'm talking about here. But do you understand it well enough? Is it enough for you to really want a good source self connection? To abandon any urges of being polarized or upset or giving into any sort of chaos whatsoever, but rather have a good source self connection, a good source presence here and now in this moment. Have you understood this so well that you truly want a good source self connection? So much that you are willing to do the work that is needed to get it. If you have, then you are unstoppable now, and you will be on top of your game. So if you have benefited from this video, then kindly consider to become a supporter. This is all possible thanks to the support of people like you. Abundance, health and prosperity to you. Thank you so much.